It has been 10 years since Moorview Meadow first opened its gates, and the park is crazy popular. The demand for more rides is at an all-time high, and the park is making its largest and possibly most riskiest investment yet. If you enjoy this episode and want to see more just like it, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to reach 25,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and if you can help me get there, that would be absolutely fantastic. This is only the beginning of this park series, and there is so much more to come. Now, let's get into Moorview Meadow's biggest and most exciting ride yet. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Moorview Meadow. This is a very special episode because it is the park's first proper thrill coaster, and I am so excited for this. I've wanted to build a Schwarzkopf looping coaster for such a long time. I just suddenly became really obsessed with the one at Hershey Park and also the one at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and like watching POVs and videos about them, I just knew that one had to be in this park, and it just feels like the perfect fit. This view when you first come in, it really does feel like this entrance area finally has the life back in it after the Ferris wheel was taken away at the start of episode 2, and I am so happy. It's now got movement back to this area. It feels really exciting again, and what a view to greet you when you come in. Just the coaster flying through that huge vertical loop there. It's the park's first thrill coaster, the first inversion on the park, and I love how the track threads back through that as well. This layout has undergone many different revisions, but I'm so happy with this. Get a great view there looking up the lift hill as it threads through the huge existing trees that are around this area of the park. I think at this point certain tree protection laws are only just starting to be brought in, so with this one it's supposed to have minimal impact on the landscape, and you can see the queue line here from where the Ferris wheel used to be. It will utilise that as well as the terrain in many places, as you can see down there with those concrete retaining walls, but honestly, I'm so excited to bring this coaster into the park. You can see even more parts of the layout from when you come into the park. Just avoid those really jank transitions going on over there. This coaster is existing in its format at the moment purely as a sketch. I love that view. Yeah, I need to go and do a full profiling pass to make sure that it's the correct, very beautifully jank Schwarzkopf profiling that I need to do, but I'm really happy with the way that it looks. And if you come down the stairs here, the pathway interaction with this ride is just beautiful. I love when supports come into a pathway. For me, I think it just really grounds the scale of an attraction, especially when it's this big and you can get so close to it. It just makes you feel so much more part of the action, even if you're not riding the coaster. And I do really love the sort of 80s style futuristic colour scheme I've given it as well. It does look really cool, and I think actually my favourite place to view this coaster from is back here at the Moorview, which is the park's main first restaurant that you come to. Look at that, it just looks so cool. It is like night and day difference. Just the difference from when this area used to be occupied by the huge Ferris wheel, and then shortly after the park opened, the Ferris wheel was forced to move because you could see it from outside the park, and then you transition to seeing it like this. And this area already, we're only in episode 4, has changed so much and is set to change even more as this park gets older in the future, and what happens to this ride in the future as well. We'll have a quick look overhead of this coaster before I get started building in this episode, but I just love the presence that it has, especially from up here as well. When you're at ground level, you can't see the full layout because it is so closely threaded between those existing trees. I really like this detail here as well, like the beginning of the lift hill. This is quite typical for Schwarzkopf coasters around the time of Super Duper Looper and I can't remember the name of the one at Six Flags Magic Mountain, but they both have a very similar starting lift hill like that. And I'll walk you through the layout now so you can see what this coaster does. It starts off with a nice drop off the side of the hill there. I suppose it's more like a cliffside. Rises up here. It is going quite slow there, but this is typically what this style of coaster does. See that fence there that I've tried to put in to hide that part? Goes into a quite low down bank turn, does the same again, rises up into a hill, and then almost mirrors that first drop there. Diving down, nice straight section there before it transitions into the main feature of the ride, the huge vertical loop nearby the entrance, and then it comes into sort of a nice turnaround there, awkward flat section of track through the loop and then dives down into a concrete trench underneath the station. Then a very drag transition there, just ignore that, up into the brake run before it turns around into the actual end brakes of the ride. Like I said, this is just a sketch at the moment. I need to go around and make all of that beautiful Schwarzkopf profiling really shine, and it'll just completely bring the coaster to life, I think. These coasters stay smooth for a long time, so I'm really intended to get the profile correct. You can see here the pad for the old Ferris wheel. I do probably intend to use this as maybe a bit of a viewing area and extension of the queue line, along with completely redoing like the entrance area around the front of the coaster. Don't expect this area to change too much, it's just going to sort of interact with the new footers that I'm going to be putting down, but already you can tell like the elevation change of this coaster is pretty impressive. And also with these custom supports, because I am using mods, you can't normally bank this track type, which is what the Schwarzkopf coasters of this age would use, so I'm going to have to fully custom support the entire coaster because this coaster uses very specific support types. And also I will be custom doing the loop as well. I want to completely custom support the loop so that it looks like this image on your screen now right here, so you can see exactly what the real life counterpart looks like compared to what the loop in Planet Coaster 2 looks like. Once this ride is fully custom supported, which should hopefully be done by the next update, it's really going to look so cool, and I can't wait to see it in its fully custom supported format. But this isn't the only area that I'll be doing in this episode. You can see here where I've tried to hide the coaster from these houses. That was sort of the limit of how far I could go. It is very much a terrain coaster, so hopefully this will give you some inspiration for the competition I've just announced. But yeah, there's certain areas where like that fence is sort of hiding a little bit of it, but most of the trees are doing the heavy lifting to hide the coaster. But just the way that the coaster interacts with the terrain and the scenery, the existing trees, I do find designing coasters like this really fascinating because they're not just on a flat piece of land. You can be so much more creative with them when you've got stuff to react to like this, and it creates some really interesting situations with like trenches and dodging around existing bits of scenery and stuff. And then that brings me onto this area, which I made in the last episode, or started to make. We've got this curved retaining wall that separates these two levels here. I really like the elevation change in this part of the park. We're going to have probably a restaurant here, maybe I'm thinking an arcade as well. It's the 80s, this episode is set in 1980, so it makes sense if I start to add arcades into it. Probably need a gift shop as well at this point to sell, well, just make the park more money, I guess. And then we're getting to the point now where we're now starting to go outside of the boundary of the train that runs around the park, so we'll start to jet off in these areas, expand outwards, and then obviously we need to do something with the entrance as well, with the old Moorview rail yard building there as well. But yeah, lots of exciting stuff going on with Moorview Meadow at the moment. This feels like the first proper modern coaster that's been installed. Obviously it's not particularly modern for us now, but that only leads way to more exciting, bigger, better coasters in the future, and I can't wait. I will see you in update 2. Update number 2. I've not done loads since the previous update, but they've done sort of enough meaningful things that I felt I needed to yap about them for a little bit. Most of the custom supporting in this area that's sort of around the main entrance has gone in, and I'm really happy with how it's starting to look. I've looked at extensive amounts of reference photos for how Schwarzkopf custom support, well, how they supported their rides. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way that it looks. The area itself is sort of coming together a bit now. This sort of queue line has not been reworked, it's just sort of been added on to go onto this pad. Just ignore that the concrete's not there, we'll be putting that back in. It was just while I was messing around with some of the paths, so you've got the queue line obviously, the coaster station, and you exit back down here, and it sort of created this nice opportunity for a bit of a viewing area, looking over the loop, looking over this huge turnaround section that happens right above your head. Got some lovely support columns sticking into the pathway there, which I do really like, and you can see the beginnings of the supporting for that loop as well, just like the image that I showed you last time. So you can see really where the reference is coming from for that and what I'm trying to achieve. But the supports at the bottom as well are something I've worked on quite a bit. The detail of these I found really fascinating. Schwarzkopf, they have quite a few different support types, I'm not really sure why, but for the lower down sections of track like this that aren't the thicker spine track, it's just like these two rails, they sort of support it with like this, it's sort of like I don't know, like loads of I-beams that are all like connected to each other to form this like really long, it's like a ladder almost that follows the bottom of the track, and they do have quite a few track connectors here, I'm guessing because it only being the 2 tubes for the track and the cross ties. It's not the strongest, but then it leans into quite interesting supports like this, where when the track gets thicker, Schwarzkopf started doing this, I think, around when they put in the shuttle coasters. So yeah, you end up with the much thicker track there, just really in this turnaround segment, because this part is quite elevated above the path, and I haven't really found any reference photos of that like lower to the ground sections being used for these higher up parts. But I thought I would show you how I actually built this, because I know quite a lot of people are asking for custom support tutorials. This is just a standard coaster support, but a little bit reduced in scale. These are supposed to be like the track flanges. Schwarzkopf have some very specific type ones. There we are, support biller base 1 is what I've used for those. This sort of like, I don't know really what this piece is, but it's just from looking at reference photos. This is what Schwarzkopf supports looks like. That's that piece. These are just TV mounts. I think they're the bolts that actually connect the support to the track piece, because you can see I've got the support piece there, and then that blue piece will be coming out of the actual track itself, and then they connect inside with those bolts. They're really interesting supports. This is probably one of the projects that I've put the most detail into custom supports for, but I thought it's the coaster that's at the entrance of the park. It really needs to look good, and I want it to stick around for a while as well, because these Schwarzkopf coasters do age beautifully if they're looked after. So that's what I've started to do with this area. You can see the footers going in. There's a bit of reprofiling going on with the terrain here. This staircase has stayed the same, but I have put in this new retaining wall, because obviously this wall now needs to act as a ride area fence, or at least a ride area wall. So that's quite nice. You can get some nice up close views from it if you come down to that level as well. You can see that bit of pathway will be replaced. I am slightly worried about this might become a bit of a bottleneck, but I suppose the only thing down here is the restaurant and the train ride. So it might not get too bad, might be a problem in the future. You can see I've just moved everything out of the way of this area. I do plan on reusing these logs for something, because I feel like the park probably would. And you can see I've put in some new floor in there outside the loop. The layout has had its full reprofiling pass. Obviously the supports that you can see at the moment are just the in-game generated ones, so I do need to change some of those. I've added like the chain lift at the top of each of these. This isn't actually pulling the train up, it does have enough speed to clear these hills. But the main reason for that is that the top of these hills are like they do contain anti-rollbacks on this type of coaster, so that's sort of what they're standing in for. And the reason why I've used the chain lift is you actually get the audible like sound effect of a rollback when you're using the chain lift as well, which I thought could be quite nice. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this project's looking at the moment. Episode 4 is looking to be probably the best one yet, and I'm so excited to see this coaster finished. But I should probably get on with building a bit more. Here we go, Moorview Meadow's newest, biggest, fastest, first inverting coaster is here. The Schwarzkopf looping coaster is in, and it's finished. I am so happy with this. Honestly, when I started planning out this park, I knew that I wanted a Schwarzkopf looping coaster in somewhere. I didn't expect it to go sort of in this position. When I removed the Ferris wheel, it felt like a perfect opportunity to put this coaster in this position and make a real entrance piece out of it, because I knew I wanted it to be iconic and something that would stick around in the park for a long time, sort of form a good place in the park's identity. And that specific view there, I think, is going to be iconic for many, many years to come in this park's timeline, and I am so excited to show off what I've made so far. You can just see the name for the coaster peeking through there on the sign. I really like this ending turn around here that goes over in the back there. That's sort of the maintenance access. I will show you all of that later, but first, here is the sign, Looper. I wanted something relatively retro 80s, but quite minimal as well. I think with the sheer cost of this coaster, it's the single most expensive thing the park has ever bought, so I didn't want to glam it up too much. I thought the park would have been relatively restrictive with that. You can see some of the information that I've put on the sign there. You might have noticed the reference to Blackpool. Called it a white knuckle thrill coaster. They tend to call their coasters that. I don't really know why. The term white knuckle actually means when you, like, if you grab onto the handlebars or the lap bars so hard that your knuckles turn white because all the blood's drawn from them. That's what it actually means. It's a bit of a weird expression. I think it is probably just a purely English expression. I don't think it exists sort of in any other language, but yeah, I absolutely love it. And obviously the terrain usage is something that was very much important to me when designing this coaster, as much as the in-game coaster, like the track and the supports, don't actually look that bad. This has been fully custom supported. And I was very adamant that I wanted to do that purely because of how much of a statement piece it's going to be, and it's going to be in the park for a long time, so I wanted to put a lot of effort into it, hence why there's been a bit of a gap in between episodes in time. But we will come down to the rest of the park later on, because there has been quite a few other additions in other places which I will show you. But yeah, I'm so happy with that view. You can see the custom support in there. I will tell you how many pieces that took later, but genuinely this area, this coaster, probably been about 40 to 50 hours of my life, not even joking. From getting the profiling perfect, custom supporting the entire thing, gone through several layout revisions trying to make it absolutely perfect as well. And you can probably also hear that there is themed audio kind of in the background. I was doing a bit of research and it turns out that there isn't really that many like parks that have sort of themed audio in the 80s. It's more just like general background music, I think. The park entrance has some music as well, which you'll have heard earlier, and now the coaster sort of has some music around it. I did sort of put in some electric dance music at first, before I very quickly realised that it's the 80s and they wouldn't really had that yet. So we've sort of gone for at least not the modern electronic dance music that's in this game, but yeah, I went for some sort of nice, kind of relaxing music in a way. It's a bit of an odd choice, but I just played it and it fit really well. So I don't really know. This is the queue line here. You can see it is using the pad of the old Ferris wheel. A few bits of solar shading in there as well. Look at those custom supports. I am absolutely in love with them. You might also notice in between the cross ties there are some lights. I will show you this park at night later on as well. Quite happy with the station building as well. It is very minimal, it's just a big wooden canopy, but I like going into detail with that as well. You can see all of the transfer track and maintenance area that I've added in as well. Gone full on realism with this. You can see some of the different types of custom supports too, which I will come on to later when we go for a bit of a fly around in the air, and you can see all the different types of custom supporting that I've used in this. You can see the coaster coming down there into that, I think that's the second drop on the ride. I absolutely love it. Put quite a lot of detail in with this, nice row numbers and stuff as well. Not put loads of detail in the actual station, especially the surrounding area. Like I said, because of budget, I think this would have probably, the park would have spent most of the money on the coaster, and as well it leaves it sort of in a nice position to be rethemed or maybe even reborn in the park's future. We'll have to see. But I think you're all itching to get on for a ride. At least I hope you are. I know I am. I've ridden it many times when I've been testing out the profiling, and even I'm really excited to go for another ride and test it with all of the theming and scenery done. You see the brakes slamming in there. I don't actually know how I did that, but I've left it in because I thought it's a perfect little Schwarzkopf jank. I do quite like it, as much as these coasters do age very gracefully and very smoothly, because Schwarzkopf just build very high quality coasters. But yeah, let's go for our first ever ride on Looper. So excited to get back on it. And there we go, you just experienced your first ever ride on Looper. I absolutely adore this coaster. It's very quickly become one of my favourite ever creations in not just Planet Coaster 2 but Planet Coaster 1 as well. I am obsessed with it, I love it. Yeah, it's just it feels like the perfect fit for the 1980 episode, the park's first really big venture into a thrill coaster, and I think this is probably going to be the coaster that puts the park on the map, like for the entire UK. Everyone's going to want to come here, maybe even like across from Europe as well, because this coaster will be sort of this park's nemesis, I guess, in a way, or at least that probably more like this park's corkscrew if we're directly comparing it to Alton Towers. But yeah, I'm obsessed with it, and as you can see as well, it's very dirt covered all around it. There's a few bits of planting sort of in the main viewing areas, just get a nice view of those custom supports there as well. But this will age over time, the foliage around it will grow and it will become a lot more nestled in, sort of what happened with Nemesis Reborn, or if you look all the way back to when Nemesis opened, it did look very bare around it, still sort of a bit of a construction site, until it became like more grown over. I was going to show this later, but I might actually show it now. This is a wonderful blueprint of a new play area that I found. I thought the park's play area did needed a bit of a glow up, especially with like the increased budget of the front of this park, so I did add this like really nicely made wooden play area which looks lovely there, and you can see the workshop code on the screen like I shared earlier. I love this viewpoint. You can see the loop flying around. Sort of when I was looking at how the queue line would interact with this ride pad, I looked at the queue line that the Ferris wheel actually had and realised it was actually pretty long anyway. This park still at the moment isn't it's not as busy as like Alton Towers is now, so it doesn't need a colossal queue line. So yeah, I just left that bit of the pad over for a bit of a viewing area. I thought that would have been a really nice thing to do. You can stand and just admire the coaster. I say this about my own work, but I don't care. I am so happy with this coaster. I am absolutely obsessed with it. We'll come back to it later in a little bit of an aerial overview, but I did think I would show you some other things that I've been working on for this episode. This restaurant, food outlet, probably more of a quick service place, is now finished. I love this little retaining wall along here, the fence, the change in level, it's really nice. Nice bits of like foliage and stuff as well, and it creates a nice elevated platform for that thing on the right, which I'll get to shortly. We have light bites. You can see I've put the Moorview Meadow name on the actual umbrella there as well. Love this level change, it's so nice. It gets you great views across the rest of the park as well. But I did steal that idea from Mr. Moomin Little Socks, so thank you very much for that. It was an episode of their new park series, which I absolutely love, so I would urge you to go and watch that. You get some great views just across the rest of the park as well, and especially at some of the expansion areas, which I will be talking about very soon, because we are going to be expanding into those very soon as well. It's a little bit creepy how all the staff are waving at the same time. This is an area where I thought the park would need sort of a step down from Racer, with it being maybe a little bit more thrilling than like a family or kids coaster would have been in 1980. Obviously now we've had a bit of a redefinition of what family thrill is, so I thought I needed a bit of a kids coaster to sort of complete this like farmyard style area. If I go beyond the construction barrier here, you can see where the next expansion plot will be, and yeah, the park's looking really good at the moment. Let's go and take a view from the air. Here we go, a nice overhead view of the park. It's been highlighted to me a few times in the comments actually that I do talk a lot in these videos, and I do because I have a lot to say. But I'll try and take this a little bit slow because I feel like this video so far has been going at about 1,000,000 miles an hour, but I'm just so happy with this coaster. Custom supporting and realism things. I've added a little operator box there for if the lift hill needs checking. 2 lightning masts as well. I got this idea from Expedition GeForce actually, just because it's a tall coaster, it needs something to anchor it to the ground if it gets hit. You can see some of the different types of custom support in there. I had to do quite a bit of research into this because there is just so many different types of supports that these older Schwarzkopf coasters used, especially when most of the track doesn't have the spine, purely just from a cost reason. So yeah, most of the track is this like just the 2 tube with the cross ties, and you can see there that some of the supports have the iron girder running across the middle with a connection point in the centre, so that the track is sort of evenly supported at some decent intervals. But then it sort of moves from the more classic style of coaster supports to these like just girder cross like pieces of metal, and then you do have the catwalk in the valleys. I was going to fully custom to do the catwalks, but I just didn't have time to do it because I wanted them to be flat. I really like the way the flat catwalks look, but for some reason when you bank track in this game, the catwalk also banks. Don't really know why, but yeah, you can see some really nice turns going around here that you'll remember from the layout. This maintenance area as well also looks really cool. I'm happy with the way this looks. Sort of that elevated block section there to allow trucks to get into this service zone. You can see I've just put like a pretty cheap looking canopy over it. just to keep the rain off the vehicles overnight, basically. Nice transfer track area as well. A few bits of detailing around here. I have kept it relatively simple because I did want to finish this creation and move on to the next one. And also with my big USA road trip coming up that I've just announced over on my Instagram. So yeah, I wanted to get this out the way before that. You can see I've put in a nice maintenance staircase there, access. The queue and the station is quite simple, like I mentioned earlier. I have sort of just kept the same wood and plaster and like concrete stone parts that were on the Ferris wheel ride pad to begin with, just sort of around it to keep it nice and simple and cohesive, obviously, with the entrance area itself. But honestly, this coaster has just completely transformed the entrance area, and I just absolutely love it. It fits so well. I love all the like concrete trenches and stuff that we've got going on for like retaining walls, allowing me to utilize the existing terrain but also go further than that as well and start to alter it. This should hopefully be a really good precedent for the terrain coaster competition, which I launched probably about a month ago now. You can see loads of different types of custom supports actually. Should we see how many pieces I've used? So that's, yeah, just over 1,200 pieces for the main supports, but that doesn't include the loop. The loop on its own is 360 pieces nearly. Yeah, like even the station itself, there's probably quite a lot of pieces. Then on the roof separate there. Yeah, nearly 700 pieces, probably mostly just beams. Yeah, I've put a lot of pieces into this, but I did just want to make it realistic, and yeah, I'm just really happy with it. I hope you all are too. This has been a very much a passion project to get this area of the park done. I just suddenly became obsessed with Schwarzkopf coasters. I think it was around the time I was booking my US trip, which does include Hershey Park, which is where Super Duper Looper lives. So I'll be going on that and getting some, not really inspiration because I've already built it, but you can see here how I actually made these custom supports. I did show you this earlier in the episode, but if you want to do a quick reminder, because I think I mentioned a while ago about doing a custom supporting tutorial, but with the range of custom supports that sort of exist for every different coaster model out there, it would be one hell of a tutorial. It would be like a documentary, multiple episodes. I still would like to do it someday, but it'd be such a big commitment that I just unfortunately don't have time for at the moment, with working full-time, doing uni part-time, and this. I treat this as my second job. I basically spend just as much time on it as my actual job, and I absolutely love it, because it makes me create beautiful things like this. And yeah, I'm just so happy where this has been. I've also hidden a little vista point in that coaster support as well, so that guests do actually come to this area of the park, because this happens quite a lot on Planet Coaster. Some areas of the park, like there's some food places next to the entrance, they are just absolutely dead all the time. I don't know why guests just don't really use them. Same for this play area. It's not really functional, which is a shame. It'd be cool if they actually added play areas into the game at some point, and then you could have like different types of play area equipment and guests could like actually walk on them. That would be a really nice feature to have at some point. And you can see I've just extended some of the path around there, using different coloured concrete for the path as well to show what's old and new. As for this area of the park, I've increased some of the size of the foliage a bit because some time has passed. And then obviously this area has been expanded into. Why is this queue so big? Yeah, this area of the park desperately needs more rides. Obviously there's the food area here, which I showed you earlier, the sign on the parasol, which I stole from Moomy Little Socks. Thank you for that idea. And then obviously the Light Bites food unit that we had earlier that I showed you. And then this coaster, very simple layout. It was originally sort of inspired by the very small dinosaur coaster, which will extend actually into this area at Paultons Park, but then I simplified it even further, so it's even smaller than that now. But yeah, the park is looking very good at the moment. I'm happy with sort of the density of attractions and like built up environment at the moment. I quite like it because there's still areas to breathe. It doesn't feel so unbelievably compact, but I'm very happy with the way that it looks. And just the way that this episode has gone in general, I guess. I will show you it at night as well, because there are some very pretty areas of this park at night, especially that loop. I haven't put lighting around the entire attraction, just sort of on the loop here, but it does sort of highlight that as the main feature, which I do quite like. And I do also quite like night rides that are just complete darkness as well. There's something about them that's quite spooky. It's such a vibe as well. I do really like that. So yeah, the lighting is not insane, but again, it's 1980. They wouldn't have the budget for these things. So this is probably something that the park could improve in the future when the ride gets, like, think about a Loch Ness Monster treatment where they retract parts of it, upgraded the theming and everything. But that should be a really cool thing to do in the future of this park series. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this episode. I hope you have as well. It felt like a good episode to do a lot in, like a really big episode before I go on my big USA road trip. Like I mentioned earlier, we're doing King's Dominion, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, Kennywood, Hershey Park, Cedar Point and Kings Island in a 2-week trip. So definitely check out my Instagram to get updates for that, and then obviously vlogs will follow afterwards. But that trip will provide some brilliant inspiration for me for this park. Really excited for the trip, obviously, and then really excited to see where it takes not only this project but other projects as well, from ideas that I get, different bits of inspiration while I'm there. But yeah, that is it for episode 4 of Moorview Meadow. Really excited where this park is going. 4 episodes in, 10 years into the park's life. So much has been developed already, and this is just the beginning. Think about it, we are probably going to go, well, we are definitely going to go all the way up to 2026. I might even go further. By the time this park series finishes, it'll definitely be next year. Might even go up to like 2030 or something. Think about how far we could go with that. What attractions will stay, what attractions will go, what areas of the park are going to be reworked. It's fascinating. There's so much I can do. Very, very excited. But thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.